Ahora sí, tell me un poquito más. Hola, I'm Kim.
And I'm Cindy Gaxiola.
Y este es nuestro podcast, Tell Me Un Poquito Más.
Yeah.
Yes, and we're so... I know we always say we're excited, but it's because we truly are always excited.
We mean it every single time.
We really mean it every single time because I think that every time we have a special guest is just a learning matter. Cada vez que tenemos a un invitado especial, aprendemos algo nuevo, así que obvio, claro, hoy vamos a tener un invitado especial, así que estoy muy emocionada porque sé que muchos vamos a aprender y vamos a escuchar esa historia que realmente me ha inspirado a mí, te ha inspirado a ti y sabemos que los va a inspirar a ustedes también.
Exactamente, Kim. Hoy no puede ser la excepción. Tenemos a un invitado tan especial que creo que lo podemos definir como que the epitome of the American dream. Making your dreams come true. Es guitarrista de Camila, que es una de las bandas más grandes. Ha estado en tour por Europa, por Asia, por Sudamérica, por todo el mundo, tour mundial. Y es un honor que
compositor,
ingeniero, bueno, ¿qué no hace? Un talento total. Y la verdad que es un honor que esté hoy aquí con nosotros en Tell Me Un Poquito Más. Vamos a darle la bienvenida a
Kike Dueñas.
Guys, thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Muchísimas gracias. El honor es nuestro.
La verdad que sí, realmente muchas gracias. Y vamos a escuchar un poquito más de tu historia, pero antes te cuento que en Tell Me Un Poquito Más, en cada episodio tenemos una Tell Me Un Poquito Más pregunta, donde te hacemos la pregunta ahorita y al final contestas la pregunta. So, te da como tiempo para procesarla. It gives you a little time to process the question. So, the Tell Me Un Poquito Más question is...
Quiero como enfatizar de que vamos a aprovechar de que Kike es un hombre que ya tiene 11 años de matrimonio. Entonces la pregunta de hoy es en base de eso, porque creo que lo que él tiene que aportar en ese lado es tan importante. Ahora sí, la
pregunta es, what would you say to a girl or a boy that is afraid of commitment? ¿Qué le dirías a un chico, a una chica que está como... No, la palabra es miedo, como... Sí. Está como de tener ese... ¿Cómo se dice commitment en español? Yeah. Ese, like...
Compromiso.
Compromiso,
sí,
exactamente.
Compromiso.
Esa es la... También un poquito las preguntas, así que procésalo un poco. Y la respuesta viene al final.
Done.
Bueno, born and raised en Bogotá, Colombia.
Sí, señorita.
Nos encantaría saber un poco, porque tú tienes poco, bueno, no quiero decir poco, duraste más años en Colombia que lo que tienes en Estados Unidos, y el poder lograr tu sueño in between, es como que el destino cada parte juega a tu favor. Entonces, cuéntanos desde ese momento de cómo fue un poco de tu niñez en Colombia.
Cuando ya llegué a mis años de high school y todo eso, en el último año de high school, conocí a Dios. Me invitaron a una iglesia cristiana. Hasta ese momento, I literally had never heard about anything other than Catholic.
Gotcha.
Because in Colombia, everybody's Catholic.
Okay.
I never even knew that there was another religion other than Catholic.
So what was your reaction? ¿Cómo fue esa invitación? Porque creo que esa primera invitación, el cómo se hace el approach, el cómo la toma la otra persona, es súper importante.
It was my mom. My parents were struggling in their marriage. Entonces, mi mamá, like, they were going through a lot of stuff and financial hardship and everything. So my mom actually, she watched a podcast right back then in the TV.
Okay.
Before internet. Yeah, I'm that old. Yeah, so she watched a TV show, and it was about, my church was there, the pastor was preaching, and she just found hope and felt connected immediately. So she knew that we needed to go to the church. Wow. So she actually made us go to a church.
Okay.
The first time that I walked into a Christian church, I thought it was ridiculous. I'm like this because I was used to the Catholic church where you just go.
It's different.
Nobody talks to anybody, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You just go and you're kind of...
Haces tu thing, yeah.
Right,
yeah.
And then you take off, right? But in here, like, everybody's hugging and everybody's like, God bless you, God loves you. And I was like...
I don't know you.
I was super weirded out.
Yeah. It's different.
But then the moment that I felt God's presence, that was life-changing for me.
And you felt it that first time you went to
Actually, I did not. My mom, that year I did terrible in the school, so my mom made me go to the summer camp, the church's summer camp.
So when you went to that first service, you were like, this isn't for me.
Absolutely. This is not for me. I remember specifically seeing the worship team, because in Catholic churches there's no worship team.
Right.
It's just the priest and like the old lady playing the organ, right? So I specifically remember the worship team and saying like, it just looks super ridiculous to me.
I gotta be honest. What is going on here?
Yeah, like
what is this though?
Band is like, I was back then. I was into Nirvana, Led Zeppelin, like so the music they were playing completely like
What's going on? Not my
vibe.
Yeah,
so then that's summer camp.
Exactly. So my mom takes me to the summer camp, and at the beginning I'm like grouching in the corner, like this is but then
really, mom?
Right, literally like,
I'm way too cool
come
for
on.
this, mama. Okay.
And then suddenly in the middle of the second night, they start ministering, they start praying, and I just suddenly just felt God's presence. It was so strong. I literally dropped to my knees and started crying from God's presence. Like I still get chills.
I get I have the chills.
Yeah.
And that was the moment that when everything like God became real, because I knew about God because of the Catholic Church and praying and all of that, but he wasn't real to me until that moment.
You had an experience.
Yes. And basically after that, before that, my all-time dream was becoming an engineer. But in that moment, funny enough, I just felt this connection through music, because the first time that I felt God's presence was during the worship section of that camp. And
the one that you had thought was a little silly.
Yes, exactly. That was funny that I just... At the beginning, I just thought that music in the church was ridiculous, but in that moment, that I felt such a strong connection that it started to create a desire on me of participating in the worship team.
Wow! So that's when your love for music kind of sort of, you could say, stemmed
or at least the love of me actually performing music, because I love music, but I never even considered becoming a profession or like being a musician.
Did you know you had a talent in music?
Yes, I played a little bit of guitar.
Okay, so it wasn't super foreign. I mean, you were a fan of bands.
Yeah, it wasn't a super foreign, but it was never serious.
Got it.
It was never serious, and I never actually took classes or never. It was just like a hobby. Like I had an hour free, so I would just.
You never fully explored it.
Exactly, but then I became involved in the worship team. That's when everything changed. Like I knew that God had a purpose for me in the music industry.
Wow.
That's beautiful.
I just got chills. Remember everything. God is good.
So what was like your next step after that, like in the music career?
So I was in my church I graduated high school. I went to university for a couple of years, but I just knew that I wanted to do music. So I actually have I wanted to go to a music school from Marcos Witt. He's like a huge worship pastor.
Huge fan of
Marcos Witt. And so he had a school in different countries in Latin America. He opened a branch in Guatemala.
Okay. Wow.
And then that's where my uncle lives. He's been there for a couple of years, for like 40 years.
Okay.
And so when they opened the branch in there, my uncle told me, hey, the school is here. You can come and you can just stay with me. You don't have to pay for food or anywhere to live. Just come. So then I went to Guatemala.
So when you were in school in Colombia, you said you went to university. But did you go to university for music?
No. Okay. I was actually computer engineering.
Wow.
And I did great. Like I was one of the top students, but I was miserable.
You weren't enjoying
like it. So it was in a passion.
So when your uncle...
It was such a weird feeling, because it was the dream that I had all my life.
Right.
I was good at computers, something that I'm good at, and something that I thought all my life, like this is going to be it. And then suddenly I'm in school and I'm doing good with grades, but I just feel uneasy. I don't feel happy. I don't feel like, I just feel this emptiness.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm going to church. Meanwhile, during that time, I'm going to church. I'm in the worship team, and I just find this much fulfillment.
Yes, you're like,
in the worship team. This
is it. Like,
so I knew that was what my heart was at. And then my uncle offers me like, just come to school, and then it just.
How did your family handle that? Because it was a complete shift, right?
Yeah.
It was really hard, because there is no professional musicians in my family. And obviously the moment that I told them, hey, I want to drop computer engineering for becoming a musician. And he's like, estás loco.
Sí, claro.
Vas a ser pobre. ¿Cómo se te ocurre?
Sí.
En mi familia todos son doctores, ingenieros y todo eso. So the idea of me being a musician,
pursuing a music career,
vas a ser pobre, vas a ser muerto de hambre.
Claro.
You're wasting your life. It was a huge shock for my family.
Of course.
Wow.
But it was just one of those things that I just knew I needed to do it.
Wow.
I needed to do it.
Wow, entonces te fuiste a Guatemala.
So I go to Guatemala, and then I'm there, and it was just God opening doors after this. That's where my actual music career started. And I got to start opening the doors, and I started playing with known bands and stuff like that. I became a teacher in the school where I was at.
So known Christian bands?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I play with Danilo Montero.
Wow. Okay.
Marcos, with a few known artists. Mm-hmm. And I knew that if I had stayed in Colombia, that would have not happened. Wow. And it's not even that was my dream. Wasn't even I want to play with somebody famous. Like, that has never been a priority for me. Like, right. I don't. When I became a musician and a Christian musician, my dream was always I want people to feel God's presence. I want people to experience what I experienced. My life was changed through music. Wow. That's all I want. Like, I've never wanted to be in big stadiums. Like, that to me has no I don't care. Like, if I play in a tiny room, to me it means exactly the same as playing anywhere else.
Wow.
But I just wanted that. I just want people to experience what I had experienced.
Yeah. So you were in Guatemala for how long?
For 3.5 years.
3.5 years. And then
I meet. Okay, so in Guatemala, I meet somebody special. I meet my wife now.
Who's your wife now?
Who's my wife now.
El destino.
Ya ven, chicos, chicas.
Hay que esperar. Sí.
Hay que escuchar a Dios, porque él sintió que Dios le hablaba. Él se fue a Guatemala, ya ves. Si él no hubiera escuchado a Dios, se hubiera quedado en Colombia y no hubiera conocido.
Dude, I would have missed on the best thing in my life ever. After God, yeah.
That's so beautiful. Yeah. So your wife.
Voy a llorar.
Por eso, ay, no, quiero saber un poco más de esto, me emociono.
Ahora sí, ya.
Your wife lived in Guatemala?
No, so my wife, she was born and raised here in the U.S.
Okay.
But she also she was going through a similar situation that I was going through. Like, she graduated from high school, and she was trying to find out what she was going to do with her life, praying what God wanted for her. And then she sees the advertisement for that music school. And the same thing, she just felt in her heart, like, I need to go. And then, so it was crazy because everybody wants to go from Latin America. They want to come here. And just the thought that she wanted to go there.
To Guatemala,
exactly.
Yes.
It's like people were telling her, like, you're crazy. Like, why are you going to do in Guatemala? Like,
yeah. So, lo que establecimos aquí es que both of them were crazy because he left his university to go to Guatemala.
Pretty much.
She left.
Ella se fue de Estados Unidos a Guatemala.
Yeah.
I think what's beautiful is I think when God speaks to you, he speaks to you, and it's up to us to be able to just continue to pray about those things. Absolutely. And just have that peace of knowing that even if it seems crazy, even to you and to the rest of the world and the people around you, when it's from God, you will have that peace, and you just know that you have to take that step, which is exactly what you both did. Yeah.
And I mean, right now, obviously, we're telling the story in 5 minutes, but at the moment, like, when God speaks to you and you know that you're supposed to do it, but you know that everything is against that decision that you know God is asking you to do. Está el estrés, la angustia, el miedo, ¿qué va a pasar? I was afraid a lot. Like, my family was against me doing music, and I always had that struggle in the back of my head. What if they're right? Que si tienen razón. Y because mi familia no estaban en contra porque son malos, pero porque querían they wanted to lo mejor, ¿no?
Of course.
But like you said, it's the moment that you know is from God. There is a huge reward on the other side because God knows. Right. He has the biggest picture. He has the bigger picture. He sees things that we can't see at the moment.
Oh.
So when we obey and we trust him,
right,
then the reward is enormous.
Then the reward is you become one of the greatest guitarists and you have a wonderful life.
Stop it. Yeah, you get, yeah.
Wait, so I want to know about that. So you guys meet at the music school.
We meet at the music school, and we become friends for a couple of years, and then we started dating. Okay. But then we also had that thing that we knew that we were going to be there only temporarily. And then she was going to come back to Los Angeles, which is where she was from. And then I was going to go back to Colombia. Okay. So it's weird starting a relationship that you know like what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But then at some point during our relationship, I just knew that she was the one. And I mean, obviously there is a lot to the story, but we would need like 3 hours.
Wait, hold on. We can't.
Hold on. In short, I just have to ask this. What was like the main thing that you knew she was the one?
Oh my gosh.
¿Cómo supiste? Estoy preguntando que si cómo él supo que quien es ahora su esposa supo que ella era the one.
I just want to say how... Look at the way his face lights up when we speak about his life. It's so beautiful.
She's the best thing in my life. How would not? Well, okay, so we go, like any relationship, we go through ups and downs. And at some moment, we decided that we just wanted to part ways. We broke up.
Wow. In your time in Guatemala?
In my time in Guatemala.
Okay.
So we graduated. We had to do an internship. So we graduated. We did the internship. She came back to LA, and then I went back to Colombia.
Wow.
And in that moment, like a few months after, I don't know, like one day I just woke up, and I had this thought in my head, dude, like I just let the love of my life just slip through my fingers. Like like the realization when we were apart, that's when it hit me. Like, dude, I just had one of those movie moments.
Yeah.
And then when you lose the person, then you realize that.
Yeah.
So you feel like in those, when you guys were together and even right after the breakup, I don't think you had realized the capacity, like how much you actually loved her, and that was the love.
And even then, I decided to, because we had made some mistakes and we had caused each other a little bit of pain. So even when I had the realization, I didn't immediately call her, hey, because I knew that the some of the wounds were so recent.
Right.
I just decided to pray. I just went to God and I told him, Father, I know now that she's the love of my life, and I know that I've hurt her, and I'm sorry, and if this is yours, I know that somehow we're gonna be together. And this is me being in Colombia and she being in LA, here in LA. It is honestly, it's you gotta pray for the person that God has for you.
And that's
you
so
have
beautiful.
to pray.
Yeah, she had no idea that you're over here on the other side of the world, having these conversations with God.
Exactly.
You knowing that she's the love of your life.
Exactly, and a lot of times it's a process that you have to learn through your life. That a lot of times when God shows you something, sometimes you have to act, but sometimes you don't have to act. Sometimes you just gotta trust Him to do the work. So
So how did that work go then, as you were praying?
So I'm praying in a few months go by. I go
months.
back. Yeah,
wow,
months.
Like that's.
Y ustedes no hablaban. Like,
No hablábamos.
You guys lost total communication.
Yeah, we were not talking.
So did you have fear of like, y si en este tiempo that I have to be praying to God, trusting God, ella conoce a alguien, like those thoughts?
Completely. I mean, it's the moment that you realize that you might lose the love of your life. Like it's the thought of it. It's tormenting. But I just knew, I don't know, like I knew that I could not, if it was from God, I could not be pushing it or trying to.
Right.
He was going to do
control.
He was going to do it.
Right.
So I go back to Guatemala because they offered me a job in the school that I graduated from, and I become a teacher, and then I'm there a few months. Then one day, this is how old I am. I'm in Messenger. You guys probably don't even know what Messenger is. Do you guys know what Messenger is?
So when I was in middle school.
God, I'm so old. Okay, before Skype, like it was the Microsoft messaging, yeah. So that was popular back then.
Oh, that was the thing.
Yeah, that was the thing. And I never go on Messenger. Like, I don't know. I just hate, in general, I'm not a social media person.
Okay.
I'm not, but so one day I'm in a friend's birthday, and then the computer that I just log in, and then my wife is logged in. I get the notification.
Okay.
And in that moment, I felt that it was the right moment to talk. And I just talked to her, hey, I apologize for everything that happened, but just so you know, you are the one for me.
You told her straight up.
Straight up.
Por Messenger?
I know.
Like,
she logs off.
No.
Yeah.
No, so
Yeah,
no te contestó en ese momento.
So she's super weirded out. I mean, obviously we haven't talked in months by then, right?
Claro.
She logs out, and then
like,
I don't hear from her in a few weeks. But then,
How are you?
oh my gosh, dude! I was not sleeping. I was like, oh god. But I knew I was in control. But then God in here, she was going to church here in LA and everything, and God spoke to her and gave her a word, and she knew it was something along the lines of like, don't be afraid, because he was doing something new for us. So then a few weeks after, she starts talking to me again, and we just start kind of building our relationship again and everything. And then she decided to go back to Guatemala to do an internship in a church.
Okay. To do an internship in the church. Okay.
I know. And then that's when we officially started dating, and we just started working our relationship, and having experience from the past and everything, and just doing the things right with God, and then after that, that's when we decided to come here to LA.
Wow.
Because she needed to come back home, and then I wanted to. I mean, obviously, I knew she was the one, so we wanted to get married, and then I also wanted to keep we both wanted to keep studying music here in our school in LA.
And LA is a good place for music, so it works out. You
is
get
the
to
place-
a little bit of both.
If you want to be a musician, this is the place, or one of the cities that you want to be on.
Wow,
Yeah.
that is such a beautiful
I know.
story.
No, it's so beautiful because I think there's so many factors to it. One is the things that you mentioned, the realization of saying, look, we tried it didn't work out. There's a lot that needs to be fixed internally. Individually. And you trusted God to work on you, and I'm sure God had to work on her in different ways. And that weight and that trust is not an easy period, because of course, humanly, you get all these thoughts like, ¿qué tal si ella encuentra a alguien por allá? Or you just don't know what can happen in between. But the bottom line is, you knew that if it was from God was going to make it happen His way, and His way.
His timing.
But it's so beautiful because, as you said earlier, the reward that's on the other side is worth that moment, that process. So I applaud both of you because I know that it's not easy.
And I think that one of the hardest things is to being able, because during that period we both had to work on ourselves, and I think that a lot of times even couples, like they basically the best way that you can be ready to be in a relationship is taking care of yourself,
right?
Like dealing with all your failings, dealing with all your being honest, I have these and these things to work. I think one of the classes that we took in that music school one day is a Christian music school, so we were doing also Bible classes. A lot of people have the image of like the thought that la media naranja, no? Like we both become one. So you have to be a half, and you have to be a half, and then we become one. But it's really not. Like, you have to be a one part by yourself, right? And we have to be complete. Se completan, exacto. So you have to do, before you meet the person that God has for you, you have to make sure that you work on yourself to make sure that you are a complete whole by yourself. Right. Because a lot of people feel like I'm not happy as a single. I will become happy when I'm with a person. But you have to be happy with yourself, with God, with who you are, with all of the areas of your life. Because if you're not, when you get into a relationship, you're also not gonna be happy.
Exactly.
Because the other person can't be the happiness for you. You have to be happy
like
yourself.
Yeah, and then it's up to you guys to complement each other.
Exactly. And then if both of you guys are happy people and are, then when you get together, it's just a powerhouse.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that you bring that up because it's so true. Like a lot of the times you could be like, oh, why I'm not meeting the one? Why I'm not meeting the one? But a lot of the times we're not ready. Like maybe you're praying for it, but if he comes, then like if you're not yourself, if you're not ready, then no, como que it's God's timing. It really is.
It's God's timing. No, but what a beautiful story. Okay, so now, okay, están acá en Los Angeles. So, ¿qué pasó con tu carrera como músico?
So we go to music school here in LA, graduated. That's another thing because in my head, I left everything in Colombia. I left my family and we get here and we get married. In my head, the moment that I graduated from school, it was going to happen. Like I am going to be touring. I'm going to be, but then we go into this period that musically, nothing happens for literally like 2 or 3 years almost.
Wow.
It was like a desert. Like I was not gigging. I was trying to look for gigs and but nothing was happening. So we go into this period where we know that God has promises for us and we're trusting him, but nothing is happening. So do we keep trusting?
Because it's been a while.
It's been over 2 years, but basically we just decided during that period that we were gonna keep doing what we knew what to do, which is serving in church. Even though nothing else was happening, we got involved in the worship team. We were just serving in church. And then I got asked a lot of questions about how do you get big opportunities and how do you meet with people and connect so you can play in big stadiums, stuff like that. But I always tell them, dude, my experience is in church. I just work in church, and if God whatever door God is gonna open, he's gonna open it from there. Because that was my experience. I was in those 2 years just serving in church, and then suddenly somebody starts going to church, and this person is connected with the band Camila.
Wow.
And this person sees me play in the church for a couple of years, and then when Camila was auditioning for musicians and for engineers, he met me at church playing, and he's like, you know what, you would be great.
Wow, yeah.
And that's how they recommended me to, and that's why I ended up with Camila. Camila, they actually live here in LA. They had just moved here to LA a couple of years before that, so they were looking for local musicians, and that's how I ended up.
Wow, that's so beautiful. And I think you mentioned something that's so important. It's about being ready when your opportunity comes.
Yes, absolutely.
You can't say, oh, they're looking for a guitarist and then try to, no, you set yourself up. You trusted that God was going to do his part. You were doing your part, which is the very important part. Make sure you do your part, even if it feels like it may not be, like you never thought that door would open a door for you to be touring around the world with Camila.
Yeah, never.
But I think that's the point of trusting God's plan and doing your part.
Yeah. And I follow a lot of people that are successful, and they always tell you this, like you even the way that you dress, you dress for success. And basically it's the attitude of, it doesn't matter where you are right now. Maybe you don't have your dream job. Maybe you don't have your dream career, but you act, you dress, you prepare as if you did. So that's kind of like what both my wife and I did. Even though we were in that period of 2 years that we didn't have any gigs, we didn't know anybody. We were still studying music. We were still in our own time preparing, because then when the opportunity comes, you're ready. It's not like when the opportunity comes, if you're waiting to get ready, to prepare, when the opportunity comes, you're not going to be ready.
Someone else is going to be ready.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's not easy because, like you said, it was 2 years. It's so easy to get como, maybe I'm not meant to do this.
Exactly.
Desanimas.
Yeah.
Wow. And so when you get approached with this opportunity, how was that with your wife? Porque it's not an easy thing, like rock star life.
Tour life.
No, absolutely. And actually, so what we've talked about, I became a musician in church. So I literally have never played with anybody that is not Christian. I have never been in a stage that is not Christian. Like I'm surrounded, like my music career was developed in church.
Right.
So that was one of our first fears that, man, like, because you hear stuff like,
claro. Yeah.
It's
alcohol,
yeah.
sexo, drogas.
It's a different world.
Yeah, it's a different world. So one of the things, we surround ourselves with pastors, especially one of our worship pastors that we're close to. Like we told him, hey, would you help us pray? Because we were afraid. Like, I don't want to go put myself in a situation where I'm with a lot of temptation. It's just not worth it.
Claro.
So he recommended that we would take it 2 or 3 months at a time and revisit every 3 months with each other, with him and with each other.
Okay.
Hey, I would ask my wife, hey, how are you feeling?
Yeah.
Are you feeling good that we're apart for this time? How, like, just check on each other.
Right.
And I feel like that's a lot. When you go into big decisions, a lot of times it's okay that things don't work out, but it's super important that you are able to have the conversation of like, hey, you know what? I thought that it was gonna happen, but if it's not happening, it's okay to pull back.
Right.
So we just took it like that. It wasn't like I was gonna commit and then that's it, but we just took it 3 months at a time. How are you feeling? And it turns out I always tell a lot of my friends that Camila, even though they're not Christian, gosh, they're a super family oriented.
Yeah.
They know my wife because they live here in Encino. They love we hang out all the time with their families, with their kids. They're super family oriented. They're amazing people, super humble, approachable. They're not party animals. Like I imagine, right? That it was
no, especially it's amazing how God works, because you would think it's crazy how He placed you in an environment where at the end of the day it's a healthy environment.
Super healthy, and not as healthy that we've been able to have a friendship outside of work. It's not even like, because they're rich and famous, but it's not. We don't have that relationship. We're just friends.
It's
like
genuine.
Like you go to their house and they're in their pajamas and like, dude, what's up? Like it's just
casual,
normal. It's super casual. Like they're just normal people. And I think that if it hadn't been like that, probablemente no. I would have probably just done like 3 or 6 months and no.
Claro.
But como tú dijiste, como que Dios sabía. He put me in the right environment.
Yeah. Can you share of a moment where you're with Camila, you're like, wow, this is it. Like this. Can you share a moment where you're like, whoa, like this is crazy?
I mean, honestly, almost every concert, but there was a concert last year that, because of what you guys learned so far, that I've done my whole musical career outside Colombia.
Okay.
So my family, like, they see what I do on pictures or videos, but they have never really been able to see it. But last year, it was probably one of the most epic moments of my career. We had a concert in Bogota.
Oh,
I mean, the moment,
man,
okay. Just remember again, I get the chills again.
Yeah.
Like the hotel is a brand new hotel that they just built a few years ago. It was literally behind my high school. Like
wow.
I was in my hotel room and my window was the soccer field in my high school. I was just like, man, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Almost 16 years later after I left Colombia and I'm here. And then that night of the concert, I'm playing in my family's there. Oh my! I tried to remember parts of the concert, but I felt like it was in a cloud. I don't know. Like I was just thinking the whole concert, everything that God has done to that moment.
Wow.
And then there is a moment in the concert where they introduce all of the musicians, and when they introduce me, they say this person from this country. But because they said from Bogota, dude, people went crazy. And then knowing that my family was there was just, oh my God. I think that has been one of the most epic moments.
It's a full circle moment.
Yeah, exactly. Like seeing it almost like through the whole concert, everything was flashing back, everything that God has done, all the struggles, all the moments that you had of doubt and everything. And then I'm there. I'm like, wow, this is just, it's God is just good.
So beautiful, so beautiful. Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm pretty sure a lot of our people are like, wow, what a story.
Ya lloramos, nos reímos.
Y ahora sí, a la tell me un poquito más question, que fue, what would you say to that person, that girl or boy, because I think it could go both ways, that is afraid of that commitment? ¿Qué le dirías a esa chica o chico que está como...
Commitment en pareja.
Ajá, en pareja, claro. Con una pareja.
Okay, I think in general, this is gonna make me sound old again. This generation, but I feel like we are in a time of history, in general, where there is so little commitment to anything. So even social media. Before, again, this is making me sound old, but before my friends, I was committed to my friends because the only way to see my friends was to actually see them.
Wow.
We did not have social media. We did not have cell phones. So it was either they call me because they know my phone number or they come to my house. But it's become so easy that we don't even know each other's phone number. Like there is, we don't see people that much because we're seeing them on social media, and it's enough. So the level of commitment in humans in general, the last 20 years it just keeps going down. So I understand why a lot of people are afraid of making the commitment, but there is the only way that you can have ever any meaningful relationship, either with friends or romantically, is you gotta take the step. You gotta take the step. I think that whatever the fear, I mean, be wise. If there is a fear, analyze why are you afraid of commitment. Maybe you see some red flags, so please be wise, of course.
Claro.
Don't just go blind into any commitment, right? But if after analyzing you realize that it's just fear, just don't be afraid. Yeah. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of love. Don't be afraid of what God has for you. Always in the other side of fear, there is a huge breakthrough in blessing. You know, just work through your fears and just. A lot of times we just gotta go for it.
Do it. Look at him.
A lot of times you just gotta go for it. Yeah, exactly. A lot of times.
Expose
You just gotta go for it.
It's so true.
I mean, again, don't go blindly into a relationship.
Claro.
Work out the red flags, but if you realize that, just go for it.
Yeah.
Just shake it off and just.
Pray about it.
And it will be worth it.
It will be worth it. Yeah.
Amen. I love it. No, yo creo que nos podemos quedar aquí hablando por horas, pero realmente, Kike, qué honor. Muchísimas gracias por compartir tu historia. Realmente es like the epitome, the example of the American dream, the not giving up, that trusting God's timing, and that the opportunity is going to come. It's God's timing. Literalmente, just follow his path and he will bring you to the dream that you've been pursuing all along. So really, you've inspired me. How I said, I'm pretty sure a lot of people have been inspired by your story. So realmente, muchísimas gracias.
A ustedes, gracias por tenerme por acá.
Thank you so much. And chicos, don't forget to share this episode, please. If you haven't yet, subscribe on all the podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, all the podcast platforms. And then if you haven't yet, to subscribe on YouTube. And yep. Until next time. Bye. Gracias.